Hello once again, everybody. Going to get you updated on what's happening in the Sun Belt Conference, the Southeastern Conference, specifically news involving Louisiana's Raging Cajuns, the LSU Fighting Tigers, and, of course, the New Orleans Saints and the NFL. Going to take you back to last Saturday evening at Tigers Stadium in Baton Rouge, where the 9th-ranked LSU Fighting Tigers handed Louisiana's Raging Cajuns their first loss of the 2009 collegiate football campaign as LSU wins it 31-3. LSU now 3-0 on the year. The Cajuns dropped to 2-1. Game was probably a little bit closer than what the final score would lead to you to indicate, however, as LSU able to pick up 330 yards of total offense in the contest compared to 272 for the Cajuns. So LSU only able to outgain the Cajuns in terms of total yards by 58 yards in the contest. LSU jumped out to the lead in the first quarter as Jordan Jefferson connected with Brandon LaFell on a 16-yard touchdown pass to make it 7-0 LSU. It stayed that way till the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, it was Trendon Holiday taking a pitch and moving in from 12 yards out to give LSU a 14-0 lead. That LSU touchdown came courtesy of the defense, who created a turnover, got the ball down to the 12-yard line, and one play later, it was Holiday that went into the end zone. Cajuns got their first points of the game later on in the second quarter as Tyler Albrecht connected on a 41-yard field goal to make it 14-3, but LSU got the 14-point lead back right before the half as Josh Jasper connected on a 52-yard field goal, the last play of the first half, to make it 17-3 at the half LSU. And then the Tigers score a touchdown in each the third quarter and the fourth quarter to make it 31-3. Third quarter score, Jordan Jefferson connected with Brandon LaFell. Second time that the two connected on the touchdown pass. This one from 20 yards out, made it 24-3. Cajuns had an opportunity there in the third quarter to put a touchdown on the board, but they were stopped short of the goal line, even though television replays show that maybe Andres Sales might have gotten into the end zone. However, the officials said no chance, and the Cajuns' drive stalled inside the LSU 1-yard line. Then in the fourth quarter, it was Jarrett Lee that connected with Charles Scott on a 1-yard touchdown pass to make it 31-3, and that's the way that the game ended, 31-3. But as I said, some positive signs for the Cajuns of the game. Chris Mason, the starting quarterback, 16 of 36 for 159 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions through the air. Andre Sales, 17 carries, 48 yards on the ground for LSU. They were led by quarterback Jordan Jefferson, who had a pretty nice game, although he was picked off once. Jefferson, 16 of 25 for 164 yards in the game for LSU. And Jefferson also threw for 2 touchdowns and 1 interception on the ground. Charles Scott, 12 carries, 63 yards, and no touchdowns. Again, LSU now 6 and to make it 3-0 on the year, while the Cajuns fall to 2-1. Tigers back in action this coming Saturday as they travel to Starkville, Mississippi to take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs in SEC action. The Cajuns, meanwhile, another ranked opponent for the Cajuns as they travel to Lincoln, Nebraska to take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers in non-conference action. The pregame show will begin right here on Sports Radio ESPN 1420, ESPN1420.com, and the Raging Cajun Radio Network at 5:35 with kickoff time set for 6:05. Meanwhile, taking a look at scores throughout the rest of the Sun Belt Conference in games last Saturday, another nice win for the league over a BCS opponent as Middle Tennessee wins over Maryland. Second straight year that the Blue Raiders top the Terrapins. This time they win by the final score of 32-31. North Texas falls to number 4 Alabama, 53-7. It was Troy winning over Conference USA member UAB, 27-14. FIU plays hard against Rutgers, but comes up a little bit on the short end of the stick, 23-15 there. FAU falls to South Carolina out of the SEC, 38-16. Western Kentucky drops the contest to Central Arkansas, 28-7. And in Tempe, Arizona, last Saturday evening, ULM falls to Arizona State by the final score of 38-14. So coming up in the Sun Belt Conference this week, we're going to have Western Kentucky, who's 0-3 on the road against Navy. ULM will take on FAU in a Sun Belt Conference matchup. The Warhawks 1-2 on the year. The Owls are 0-2. Troy and Arkansas State will do battle in the Sun Belt Conference matchup. Troy is 1-2. Arkansas State is 1-1. Meanwhile, North Texas will play host to Middle Tennessee in another Sun Belt Conference matchup. The Blue Raiders are 2-1. The Mean Green 1-2. And in non-conference action, FIU will play host to Toledo. FIU is 0-2 on the year. Meanwhile, scores involving the SEC teams from last Saturday. And of course, once again, we already gave you a couple of scores as LSU defeated the Cajuns 31-3, and Alabama rolls past North Texas 53-7. Meanwhile, Kentucky defeats Louisville 31-27, and an SEC matchup, top-ranked Florida defeats Tennessee 23-13. South Carolina over FAU 38-16. Mississippi State wins their SEC opener, defeating Vanderbilt 15-3. Meanwhile, Ole Miss defeats Southeastern Louisiana in non-conference play 52-6. It was Auburn in a non-conference matchup over West Virginia, 41-30, and in a shootout, an SEC matchup, number 23 Georgia survives Arkansas 52-41. Meanwhile, games coming up in the SEC coming up this weekend. Action will begin on Thursday. An SEC matchup, number 5 Ole Miss and Columbia, South Carolina to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks. SEC games coming up on Saturday. As we mentioned, LSU travels to take on Mississippi State. That's an 11:20 a.m. start time on Saturday. Alabama will host Arkansas. It'll be Florida at Kentucky. Other SEC action will have, well, that's going to be it. All the rest of the action, non-conference action in the SEC, including Tennessee hosting Ohio, Auburn hosting Ball State, and Georgia hosting Arizona State. Meanwhile, the New Orleans Saints move their record to a perfect 2-0 on the 2009 NFL campaign, as the Saints able to defeat the Philadelphia Eagles, and really a game that I don't think a lot of people surprised that the Saints won, but I think a lot of people were surprised by really the margin of victory in that contest, as the Saints went into Philadelphia. Even though the Eagles didn't have Donovan McNabb, the Saints won it comfortably, 48-22. Drew Brees in the game, 25 of 34 for 311 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Brees now has 9 touchdowns through the Saints' first 2 games on the year. The Saints will be back in action next Sunday as they travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. But nice game for the Saints. They led it 17-13 at the half, scored the first 17 points of the second half, and then really just kind of cruised to the victory over Philadelphia in that game. Kevin Cobb substituting for the injured Donovan McNabb, 31 of 51 through the air for 391 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Coming up this week, right here on Sports Radio ESPN 1420 and ESPN1420.com. Friday evening, got Acadiana High football for you, as Acadiana will take on the Como High Spartans. Pregame at 6:25 with kickoff time set for 7 o'clock. Don't forget on Saturday, the Cajuns and Nebraska. Again, pregame show 5:35. Kickoff time set for 6:05. And don't forget about the Ricky Bussell Show each and every Monday evening from Baja Sports Grill on Bertrand across from Cajun Field. Coach Bussell talking some Raging Cajun football each and every Monday evening. Begins at 7 o'clock. It'll go right up until 8 o'clock. We'll be back next week to kind of review the prior week and take a look at the week ahead right here on Sports Radio ESPN 1420 and ESPN1420.com.